There still is a big disparity between the rates for boys and girls, and it's important to make the point that boys do get these disorders, but fact is still more girls are affected by this than boys, and so there must be something about being female that loads for risk for this. And it's tempting to sort of see it just as a cultural phenomenon or sociocultural phenomenon, but I think it's probably, when we get to it and we really have the tools to understand it, we're going to see that it's, again, a complex interaction between the biology of being female and biology of being female at puberty as people go through that phase of life, and the cultural factors. We do know that objectification of women and premature or early sexualization of women is a risk factor for psychiatric illness in girls and women, so I think that's going on in eating disorders. It's undoubtedly true that there's a culture that promotes a thin body ideal, which does get internalized, and we can see that as sort of girls who are somehow falling prey to the culture, and one way we've discounted eating disorders and minimized them is to say, well, those girls are sort of weak, they just somehow, they gave into the culture somehow. It's a potent factor, and it's not like the culture is outside of our heads. If you grow up in the culture, it ends up being the way we evaluate ourselves, and it has a direct influence on that. And there's a lot of research to show that internalization of that thin body ideal is a real potent risk factor for developing an eating disorder. And I think for a clinician, even more importantly, it shapes the recovery environment for our patients. That if you're a young woman who's recovering from an eating disorder, you're recovering in an environment that's basically sort of telling you that you're wrong to get better. Like if your goal is to gain weight, and you're living in a culture that's massively promoting the exact opposite, it takes a lot of wherewithal to swim against that, and that's a potent factor in eating disorders treatment, sort of managing the recovery environment.